live, so um yeah, we're just gonna see how this goes. I'm just gonna ramble on for a little while, and I don't know. I don't really have a specific topic in mind. I was gonna do a video about well, okay, so I have something. I was gonna do a video about seeing things in a 24 frame per second type of mindset, right? And this reality in a 24 frames per second type of mindset. And I say that because I come from I come from a I kind of come from a film background. So that type of idea has always kind of been etched in my head, and the idea is like, so when, well, back in the day, okay, when a movie would come out or a movie was made, it was made in 24. It wasn't, you weren't watching an actual like now you're watching a video, right? You weren't watching a video back then. You were watching a series of frames, 24 frames strung together, and then kind of played, you know, at that frame rate per second. So it's tricking the eye, it's creating the illusion that you're watching movement, but it's not really movement. It's actually just still frames kind of stuck together, moving really, really fast, right? And I kind of feel like that's how reality is here, you know? Because when it comes to film and the whole 24 frame method, you can actually you can stick things in between that, you know? You can stick you can clip frames um in between the frames of a movie, and you know, you can, and that's how subliminal, a lot of subliminal imagery works, right? um you put things in between those frames, and so when it's played back very, very fast, the eye can't necessarily see what's happening. It flashes across the eye very, very, very fast. And I just feel like, you know, that's kind of how things are um, here in this world. Um, you've got entities and things that exist, and they kind of move in between those frames. Um, and I don't know, we've been so, like, stunted, right? Our, oh, hey, how are you, Susan? Um, we've been so stunted in just our perception that we don't see, um, we can't see these things, or at least the majority of us can't. Um, yeah, and it's really, really, really crazy. Um, and I think about that a lot, you know? I think about that. I think one of the most frustrating things is just like understanding how, um, understanding how these beings and these entities operate, and it's just like, you know, and sometimes it's right underneath your nose. It's so just right there in your face, you know, and you almost have someone that's like, if you didn't stop, you'd miss it, you know, and that's how they operate. That's the world beneath the world, you know. That is the world beneath the world. That is what we're dealing with. That is how all of this is set up, you know. And they have all these keys and all these, you know, back doors that they use. And but that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Um, man, it's like, I think that I think that we I think that we get caught up we get so caught up in um the day-to-day just garbage that even those of us that are awake really, I don't know, like we don't approach things, and myself included, like we don't approach things like we should, because it's just like, I live my life and I do the things that I do, but I still continue to have those moments where it's just I see things and I experience things and I feel things, and it's just like, shit, this is so effing fake. This is so effing fake. It's so fake. Like, it's ridiculous how fake this place is. Um and I think, and there was I was watching a video. um yeah, I know, right? I was watching a video. What's his name? DB. Um, yeah, DB, who does the videos. And Susan, if there's anything you want to talk about or anything you want to bring up, please feel free. I'm just rambling. But no, there was this thing about, I was watching DB. He does a lot of videos on gang stalking and stuff, and he was talking about how he went out, or he met this woman, and he was just like, I just wanted to just like forget for a little while, and just like, I knew what it was. Like, she kind of reached out to him, and he's like, I knew what it was, but I just wanted to forget for a little while. And that's kind of how it is sometimes. You just want to kind of forget. This is like, but it's so incredibly just like, it's fake. And I mean, not even like, I mean like fake on a level of like, um remember, how like in Looney Tunes, I've probably used this reference before, but like in, like, you watch old Looney Tunes episodes, and like the person would be like in, like, he'd be in like they'd be running or they'd be doing something crazy. Okay, hold on. Do I think that the shady shenanigans have ramped way up, or that we're just more aware of them? Um, that's a good question. I think it's both. Um, so like, yeah. So I think it's just like, it's a situation like everybody, those that knew, like, we really know now, and but also it's just like, I do think there's a timetable, you know. Um, I think there's a timetable, and I think there's a lot of stuff that they're doing, that things that they have to get done within a specific amount of time, and they're kind of, which, like, it's like the things that are happening in the world. It's like a lot of this chaos that is happening. Um, some of it is done. Some of it is like, part of this cycle of destruction, but some of it is them trying to get people's attention elsewhere. Trying to like keep them in that state of like, keep everybody in that state of like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Because, like we're at a point right now where oh, hey, yeah, yeah, oh yeah, man. I've been dealing with this for a while, man. Like, um, I watch. I'm assuming this is DB, gang stalking simulation. Yeah, man, I watch all your videos. Like, you're dead on, 100%. Um, I watch, man. And it's at the point where, wait, let me answer. I'll answer Susan really, really quick. So no, but I do think, yeah, things are ramping up very, 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 very quick. Um, we are becoming aware, but also the veil is falling, right? So because the veil is falling, because everything is opening up, they have to keep people distracted. All these things have to be exposed. All these things have to be shown. And if you're a person, if you're not one of these bots walking around, then you're gonna start to see things. If you haven't like just kept your head in the sand, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Uh, but no, yeah, I've been dealing with this for like a while now, like a while, And honestly, the truth is, I don't even like talking about it anymore. Because if you go back through my videos, I made dozens of videos about it. I don't even like, because it's so, I'm not even affected by it anymore. What irritates the shit out of me is just the repetition of it, the constant repetition of it. You know what I'm saying? Like them doing the same shit over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I was watching one of uh gang stalking simulations videos, and he was saying like, he's like, they must not know that I know. Like they must not understand that I know, that I get what's going on. And I'm like, either it's like robotic programming and it's just like they're set to like a specific function and they just have to keep doing this thing, or they are that stupid and they don't know that we know. Yeah, repeated patterns 24/7, man. Yeah, repeated patterns 24/7. It's so insane. It's so freaking insane. And that's what irritates me. I don't like, I get hit with the stuff, you know. I mean, I there are days where like I get out of my bed and it's almost like you feel like you got hit by a car, you know. I get it. I can feel when they're doing what they do. That does not even, because I mean I've built up um yeah. Um I've built up I've built up like kind of a tolerance to it. But no, what irritates me is just like that repetitive nonsense, just the repetitive nonsense. And you know, um I've experimented in so many different ways with these situations and these people, if you want to call them that. That's not, I really don't believe that's what they are. I've seen too much. Um, I honestly think we're dealing with, it's closer, I've said it before. I mean, look back at my videos. It's closer to like AI hive mind, alien invasion of the body snatchers. That's really what it is. Like you're dealing with like alien, you're dealing with invasion of the body snatchers. Like that's what this whole thing is. I mean, it is like it's insane, you know? And yeah, it's insane. And you just I've had so much time. Nope, that's what it is, man. That's what it is. Yep, it's a hive mind. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Um and you know what's so funny is like, I think one of the scarier parts for me is um having a conversation with a person and seeing that exact same look in their eye, and it's the same look that you've seen in the other eyes, you know what I'm saying? And it's like something else is looking back at you, but it's not but it's that same look that they all give. And it's just it's messed up, man. But I have watched them, and it's just like, man. Man. And the screwed up part for me is, I guess the screwed up part for me is that I have I've seen, you know, I've seen things attached, because like I can see things sometimes beyond. We moved to a sweet coastal town that felt more like I woke up in a Stephen King movie. Oh my god. Speaking of Stephen King movies, you need to watch Dreamcatcher. I don't know if you guys in there have seen Dreamcatcher before. You need to watch Dreamcatcher. Like Dreamcatcher is, it's not the best movie as far as like the setup, and um as far as like the structuring of a movie, but it's legit as far as the idea of things taking over people's minds. And yeah, you need to watch it. Definitely need to watch it. Things taking over people's minds, and the heroes, the heroes of the story of the movie. They're these four guys, and they're these four guys who kind of were given a gift by, let's just say, a benevolent force, you know, a supernatural benevolent force. And so they're kind of psychic, you know what I'm saying? And so they're able to like they have this really deep connection with each other. They have this really strong bond. Yep, Donnie Wahlberg. Yeah. They have this really strong bond, and so they can sense things that other people can't sense. They have that thing that I always talk about, that intuition, that gut thing. And so, not giving it away, but like later, they're in a cabin. There's this parasitic alien force that shows up, and it takes over people. And so one of the friends gets taken over, and there's one of this scene where like, you know, one of the friends encounters the friend that's been, absorbed within, that's been taken over by this parasite, and he immediately knows. He's like, "You're not Jonesy. I don't know what you are. You're not Jonesy," you know. So, I would say watch Dreamcatcher. Watch Dreamcatcher. I mean, Stephen King is definitely an insider. He's done so many different Cell. The movie Cell isn't that good, but the book Cell is amazing. Um, Had I know that I would be literally living in the movie Cell like later in my life, um, I couldn't have predicted that. I really couldn't have. Um, Basically, for people that don't know what Cell, um, there is this thing that happens around the world called the pulse, and everyone who has a cell phone gets connected to like this mysterious hive mind. And so they become like these weird hive-minded zombies, and the people who didn't have their phones that day are the ones who basically didn't get affected by it. And it's only a very small amount of survivors that exist that haven't been affected by this pulse. So I think I saw the movie one time, and uh, it was whatever. It was kind of forgettable because I think the book touches on so much more. But you know, but that's how it is. Like they have to tell us what's going on. And I've heard this from so many different people where they say, basically, um, just imagine every movie that's ever gone on, and that's basically happening right now. And that's the truth. That's the honest truth. But but no, man, I've seen I've seen so many weird things, especially lately, and it's really kind of crazy. Um, because again, going back to what I said in the very beginning, it's like our level of perception is so stunted, you know, and the things that happen around us are just that, and that's how these beings operate. You have to understand that. That is how they operate. They are not they are not powerful by any stretch of the imagination. They operate in secret. They operate behind the scenes. That's the only way they can that's the only way this operation can go the way that it goes. Is because they hide. Is because they do what they do. I've never seen Dreamcatcher, but I will check it out and make a video. Yeah, dude, you'll love Dreamcatcher. You will love Dreamcatcher. It's pretty amazing, And it got like lambasted when it came out, like so many things do. Um and but yeah, no, they have to work behind the scenes. Um and then those of us that know, we're like these weird anomalies. We're like these weird things that aren't supposed to exist. You know what I'm saying? Oh, can you hear him behind me? Um, I've been out here for like, suddenly doors closing and people walking outside. It's like, man, get out of here with that shit. And and it's like you go through the whole thing where it's just like, there we go. You go through the whole thing where it's just like, man, it's like, come on. But no, I haven't been able to nail down the specifics as far as like, like intricate specifics, but no, it's definitely, you are dealing with a non-human situation. This is a non-human situation on this planet, you're dealing with, I personally believe, like my personal belief is it hasn't Yeah, yeah. Oh man, he talks about everything. I mean, he's good. He's really good. One of the few channels that I actively keep watching. Like I continue to watch because I think what I like about his channel is that he has grown in his beliefs. He never like he's not just like he doesn't just stay in that same box. And I think that's one of the big problems um with a lot of people, you know, and I hate using this community, whatever, they get this idea in their head and they kind of just stay with that and they don't really go any further. um it's so much deeper than so many people want to believe. It's so much deeper. Like, if honestly, if this was just like the FBI and the CIA and the NSA and if it was just like, hey, somebody we got put on a list for, like, I don't know, maybe we're too smart for our own good or whatever, and, like, the government is like checking us out, I'd honestly be more relieved. But it's not that. It's so much more freaking malevolent. It's so much more like horrific. It's so much more like something out of a Stephen King movie. You're dealing with, like, this is like shit that has to do with the human soul and metaphysics and who we are as a species, why we're here on this planet, in this world. Let's call it this world. Oh my god. Adjustment Bureau, man. Yes, the Adjustment Bureau is one of my favorites. So, okay, all right, we're going to talk about movies for a second. I feel like anybody in this scenario, there's a handful of movies that you need to see. You need to watch, of course, The Matrix. You need to watch The Matrix. You need to watch They Live. You need to watch The Adjustment Bureau. You need to watch Truman Show, and you need to watch Dark City. I would say that those 5 movies are like, that's part of the targeted individual starter pack. Like, those are the movies that you need to watch and you need to study and you need to understand, you know? And I'm gonna be 100% like real. Like, I really believe that, like, I was listening to an interview with Kanye West. I honestly feel like that dude has been, Body Snatchers, 1970. Yeah, yeah, dude, 78. The 78 one is my favorite one. The one, like, the one after that, the one in the 90s is the one with the girl who's like, where are you gonna go? Who are you gonna talk to? You know, there's nowhere to go. There's nobody. That was the one in the 90s. That one was okay, but the one in 78 was perfect. And then they made the one in 2000 something, and I didn't really like that one. That was okay, but the one in 78 was perfect. Donald Sutherland and all that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was great, and um that kind of sums up or summed up what was really going on, or what's really going on now. You know, um, I was saying earlier that I feel like there have been ebbs and flows with this. There have been ebbs and flows with this, with how bad things have been here. Um, I think these forces have always been here, but I think that there have been, again, ebbs and flows with them in the mass that they're in. You know what I'm saying? I strongly believe that the forces that, if you read the Emerald Tablet of Thoth, go back and read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the forces that Thoth speaks about, that he says that they were serpent faced and they infiltrated all the councils, and basically they were responsible for Atlantis's inevitable downfall, because you had priests and you had magicians that were delving into these dark aspects of magic, of reality, and they were opening portals into places that they had no business opening portals into. You know what I'm saying? And these things from a lower, they call them like from a lower star. I think that's what Thoth says. Um, and yeah, and they could, and I think in the Emerald Tablets it says like through blood they're able to come into this world and take the semblance of man. And they crept in, and I'm paraphrasing loosely, but they crept into the councils, and they crept into basically all aspects of civilization, and and Atlantis was destroyed from the inside. I think that's what they are. I think that's what they do. I think they've done this multiple times. I see this as a battle that has been going on for a very long time. The battle for humanity, the battle for control over this world, the battle for um, the continued existence of man. I do not believe, like, so people have this, people have their belief that this place was created as a I don't think initially this place was created as a prison. I don't. I think that there were forces that came in here and commandeered everything. I really do. They had an understanding, and I think also what's happened too is you've had these calamities, you've had these resets, you've had these inhabitants of this planet have been kind of pushed to like this point of like pushed to the point where everything kind of gets erased or destroyed, and these things come in and take over, or they have come in and take over. And I honestly believe that the last time, like the last big incursion into this world, was around like the 1930s, and 1940s. And that's why you had all that weird crap going on with Adolf Hitler. You had all that weird crap going on with our government. You had all that weird, and that's where you hear the stories about Eisenhower, and you hear the stories about like Hitler. You hear the stories about all these different world powers that were approached by certain beings, specific entities. And I mean, if you look for it, it's there. The stories about Eisenhower basically uh, signing deals with. They claim it was the Greys. I think it's more deeper and more malevolent than that. Um, my experience, I absolutely believe that the Greys exist, but the Greys they're a not a slave race, but they're like Oompa Loompas. They're like Oompa Loompas, okay? So for the most part, if you see a gray, just like if you see an Oompa Loompa, you know that you're in Willy Wonka's factory, and that's what the kind of the grays are. There's always a Willy Wonka if you see an Oompa Loompa, you know, and so I've heard stories that there are like grays that exist in their own kind of mercenaries. I believe that too. Yes, ma'am. Um, they're the wet work people, or the wet work things. They're sent out. They're sent out to do the dirty work. And I don't know if that's because a lot of these entities don't want to come out directly or whatever. But yeah, it's that, and that's one of the biggest like red herrings that we've ever gotten in this entire scenario. If you get into ufology and all this stuff, and yeah, ufology and all this whole stuff with like, you look back to when all this stuff got popularized because it's been happening for a long time, but when all this stuff got popularized in the human consciousness, in the modern consciousness, right? The gray was the face of that propaganda, and it's like that's what we're dealing with, but that's not what we're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? But those are the things like, oh, we were abducted, or and that's what we saw. Yeah, well, because those were like the robots, the machines, the things that were, and I mean they that should be like common knowledge at this point, because I've literally heard Joe Rogan talking about the Greys and how like Joe Rogan on his show is like, he's like, they're machines, right? They're kind of like spacesuits. Kind of are. They kind of are. But, you know, but then you have all these things working behind them, and like, again, going back to the whole Eisenhower thing, um, They're like, we'll give you technology in exchange for all of these, because also too, these things they need permission. They need entry into these places. You know what I'm saying? I firmly believe that they have been kicked out completely at times, and then you've had other people let them back in. You know, um, the stories of like the Nephilim and the people um who carry these bloodlines, and they were performing these rituals to like basically let their parents back in. But you know, it's uh it's a crazy situation. But I mean, like, you know, I think one of the steps towards the end of all of this is the revealing of those things. You know, I really feel that way. I do. And I kind of feel like sometimes that you do have, more benevolent forces that come down and are like, yo, you have to tell everybody what's going on. You have to tell everybody what's going on. There is a timetable for you doing that. And I just think that they've completely botched that. This up until this point, they have basically botched it. Um, they they tell people stuff, but they do it in the most like subversive, like, you know, subversive, confusing way possible. You know, we'll put it in movies. We'll put it in, this thing. We'll never directly come out and tell you that's what it is, but that's what it is. But it's bad. It's bad, people. It is so incredibly bad. Um, it's very disturbing, the state that we're in right now, because they want to keep telling you that all this crap is in space and these things are coming down. And I've said this before, and I will say this a million times, million more times. It's like, nah, they're living next door to you. They're in houses next to you. You know, you've got you've got spaceships and there we go. There's my white car. See him behind me? I'm surrounded. I'm literally boxed in by white cars. Like, I got them to my back. I have them across from me. Wherever I go, give it about, give it about, give it just a month or so, and people move out, and you got white cars. You'll just have white cars. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so funny. It's so funny. It's like people move out, new people move in, and they got white cars. And again, it's like it's and there was a time, man. There was a time where I could not even function. It was so bad where I could not even function. Where it was just like I couldn't go out. I wouldn't be able to do something like this. I would not be able to like literally have a conversation with you right now while they were doing what they do. Because they like to get behind you and do the things that they do, and like because it's like to mess with your concentration, to mess with your ability to do anything. I wouldn't have been able to do it. You know what I'm saying? Um, I would have just been, and it has taken a long time. It's taken years and years and years, for me to build up the tolerance, for me to build up the fortitude to kind of like go out into the world and say, oh, facts. You seem to be very informed. I've never heard of you or seen you on my platform. Oh, dude, I've commented on a few of your videos before. Um, I've been around for like a while now. Um, but yeah, man, I try to comment every once in a while on your videos. Um, and yeah, I mean, like, nah, man, I get you. I get you 100%. Um, it's 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 something else. It's something else. And like, I think you have the perfect mindset. Um, Gang stalking simulation. I think you have the perfect mindset. Like, as far as dealing with these clowns, because they and it's like when you just approach them, when you just have that kind of like, I don't care anymore. Like, let's play this game. Let's do this thing. Because first of all, once you once you're able to feel them, once you're able to see them for what they really are, it's like they can't they can't pull that over your eyes. You see them coming from a mile away. They are so, excuse my language, they are so fucking like out of the box, like Lego people. You know what I'm saying? Like they do that, like it's the same shit. And you see it like it's the same shit, like different people, the same shit, you know? And it's like you would think and that's the thing that boggles my mind, honestly. Like, you would think. So we're talking about like hyper intelligent beings and aliens and extra dimensional AI and all that. You would think that they'd be able to, excuse my language again, be able to fucking adapt. Yeah, it's fear. It's fear. It is. And when they don't get that fear, they just start walking around in circles. It's like it reminds me of like in the Terminator movies. It's like, what do you do when you no longer have a John Connor to kill? What do? I just basically walk around in circles. And you just watch them walk around in circles, because if they can't get that fear out of you, then they just like, I don't understand. What is happening? You know what I'm saying? And they look so confused sometimes, so hurt sometimes. Like and that's the thing too that like kind of makes me laugh, because like, yes, there's this weird like AI hive mind. Oh, one more movie, Fallen with Denzel Washington. Fallen with Denzel Washington. That's another one that like needs to be on anybody's list. I know Gang Stalking Simulation. He's seen it because I've seen it pop up in his videos. Like he's seen a lot. Like he's like, and shout out to him for like, I think he made a reference to like the Dark Tower one time. Straight up, like that's one of those. Yeah, yeah they are. Yeah they are. Um, and yeah, no, they try to do these things, and then but like what I was saying is like, yeah, it's a hive mind thing, and yeah, you feel like, are they really aware of what they're doing? But man, you look at some of these bastards' faces, and it's like, yeah, they are absolutely aware of what they're doing. Like, it is a malevolent, like, they know what the hell they're doing. They know what the hell they're doing. You know? They know exactly what they're doing. And you can see it in their face sometimes, because you see it in their face when the shit doesn't work out, and they can't utilize the tactic that they want to utilize on you, and then they start kind of, and they will get visually frustrated when they cannot do what they're trying to do. They'll get frustrated, and it's so funny. It's so funny. I was out walking the other day, and I hit a corner, and I see two of them out, and they're doing the thing, and they got, again, it's like, um how are you walking? Like down a path, and both of you are looking on both of you are, your faces are glued to your phones. You're looking down, glued to your phones. It's you and another person, and both of you are just glued to your phones walking. It's like, if that's not some invasions of the body snatchers shit, I don't know what is. But anyway, they walked past me, because of course they have to like cross in front of me as I'm walking. They have to do that. But see, the plan was, and see, they think I believe that adaptation is one of your greatest tools, because if you can change up the plan at the last second, or if you can change up whatever you were about to do at the last second, it'll mess with them, because they feel like they feel like they know what you're about to do. And a lot of times they do. But sometimes you can change it up on them at the last second. Like at the last second, you can do something they're not going to expect. And that's what I did. I was out walking, they crossed in front of me, and the plan was for me to just continue walking down the path I was walking. But at the last second, I just kind of turned to the left, and I started walking behind them. Oh my God, it was so funny, because I did a video on the Dark Towers 4 years ago. It's lost in the algorithm. Yeah, the Dark Tower is interesting. The Dark Tower is very interesting because the Dark Tower talks about, you know, it talks about the stalking. It talks about these beings that are going out there and snatching up children and people and in the book, what, and I think what they do in the movie too, um, these kids are psychic, and these kids have like this ability to like they're very powerful psychics, and they can actually open up gates in between worlds because they're powerful psychics. And they were taking these children and strapping them to this machine that would they were strapping them to this machine that would enable them to shoot. They were taking all that psychic force and throwing it, hurtling it at this tower. And this tower was essentially like the center of creation. And they wanted to bring down creation. Um, Symbolism there. Make of that what you will. But no, the Dark Tower is great. Um, so I'm here. I'm in front of you. Does anybody have any questions? Anything anybody wants to bring up or talk about? I'm 100% game. Um, but man, yeah. No, you're. This is all like. It's the Anunnaki. It's um. It's really like it's the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. It's the Book of Enoch. You know. Um. What is going on in chat? Yeah. It's it's the Book of Enoch. You know, in the Book of Enoch, it talks about the beings that the Watchers. And in fact, that's actually on Gang Stalking Simulations page. Darkest Minds is a good movie. My backup channel, Truth in Plain Sight. Yeah, man, I'll check that out. Definitely. Darkest Minds. Is the Darkest Minds that movie about the kids who have like psychic powers? They're like part of like a um they're part of like an experiment, like they escape from a facility or something. I think I think I saw part of that. Um I'm not entirely sure if that's what the movie you're talking about, but I think I saw a piece of it. And I liked what I saw. I like what I saw. Um there was oh my god. Have you guys seen V? The V saga? You guys need to see V. V's amazing. Um there was a series back in the 1980s called V, The Visitors. Yeah. Uh, The Visitors. And they remade it in 2009. And I think that both series are very good. And in both series, they're reptilians. You're dealing with aliens that come down. And so they show up. They show up in their ships, you know, and it's this huge like big thing, you know, and these are giant like city-sized ships, and this is before Independence Day. And they show up and they tell humanity, like, they were meeting all the leaders, and they're like, we need resources and water and whatever, and we're just here to exchange our blah blah blah. And they're trying to make it out like they're good people, but they're not. They look human, but they're reptoids. They're reptilians. And you find it out later in the series, like they're actually like harvesting people and doing all this horrible shit. Funny enough, a little bit of trivia: the movie They Live, in the movie They Live, originally, and if you go back in my channel, there's a short film, not a short film, a short story called 8 o'clock in the morning, where that short story was what the movie They Live was based off of. And I found an audio version of it, and I uploaded it on my channel because I was like, people need to hear this. But originally, in the original story, they were reptilians. They weren't like weird ghoul creatures. They were reptilians, like straight up reptilians. And that was one of the things that the studio made John Carpenter change. Was how the creatures looked, because they originally were reptilians. So that is That's something to be aware of. Oh, dude, where you been at? I was actually gonna give you a call. I hope you're doing okay, Uncle Obvious. Um, I've been thinking about you a lot lately. Actually, we gotta talk soon. But yeah, dude, I'll give you a call soon. Um, there, um, there definitely was there was a correlation there. You know, um, a correlation with um, the whole reptilian thing, and they made it they made it they made them change that, and they made them get rid of it, and it's really funny. It's like that tells you something. Because I mean, I'm like, I don't care what anybody says, and you can argue me down all day long. I do not care. We can have this conversation. We can go back and forth verbally. But I'm gonna tell you one thing. I know for a fact that one of the types of beings is causing like just turmoil on this world. They're reptiles. They're reptilians. I absolutely 100% believe that. I don't believe that in a metaphor. I don't believe that as a they're serpents. Like straight up, that's what they are. They're serpents. That's like one type of them. You have multiple types, but one of the more prominent ones, they're serpents. Like I've seen that like directly. And I'm gonna give you guys there's a channel that you need to check out, and I would say that like in the very beginning when on this channel they talk about like, so the main guy, he talks about like, he does have a sketchy past, you know and at the beginning there was a lot of like weird like drug use and stuff happening. But when I tell you that what like his story, the story that's presented on this channel, is that's what's going on, that's a very accurate version of things. And the channel's called Truth or Die. And I don't the guy, or it's a family, it's a guy and his wife. They upload kind of sporadically, but they uploaded a series of videos called it was called like reptilian humanoids, like translucent beings, and like gang stalking or something. And it was like 4 parts. And he talks about how him and his wife, then girlfriend, were basically like harassed and kind of terrorized by these beings, leading to them, like, I mean, they live in the desert now. Like they live completely like just isolated from everything, and I don't blame them. Anunnakis, reptilians, and ET. Yeah. That's all them, dude. It's all them. It's all them. And I'm convinced. I'm convinced at this point. You know, um, just like I was talking about, like the Emerald Tablets. Like there being a lot of truth in the Emerald Tablets. Um, I believe that the Anunnaki aren't. I think that the Anunnaki, like, they're on a higher echelon of things, but I think that the Anunnaki are basically like the Watchers from like the Book of Enoch. You know, they were the ones that came down and like did all the shit that they weren't supposed to do, and blah 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 blah. Like, again, there's so many different types of these things. For the most part, the reptilians are like foot soldiers. Um, there are like there are like I believe that the reptilians, with them, there's a caste system. And I feel like once you get to the top, when it comes to the reptilians, the draconians, whatever you want to call them, um, I believe at the very top, they're white. That's what I feel like. And I feel like a lot of this racial bullshit and stuff that we see, I mean, that's them, you know, like, because again, like, you look at their caste system is very similar. Just my own personal belief. But I do know that the very top, the Dracos, they're white. The white dragons, you know. So, make of that what you will. But, what you're also dealing with too is you're dealing with everybody's got kids running around, you know? And I think part of this experiment is just getting everyone. Part of the hurdle was getting everyone to just look human. It's like it was harder for them to operate when you could see them for what they really were. Again, working under the radar, working behind the scenes. That's how they're able to do what they do. I think they've tried this thing before where they were just kind of out in the open, and people rebelled, people fought them, and so they had to kind of pull back and kind of, you know, I think one of the things they did too was they brought in, like, they kind of like Trojan horsed us with this technology, you know. This phone in my hand right now, like, I wish I wasn't using it right now because it's a weapon, and they use them against all of us. It's absolutely a weapon. And I think that, you go back and look at, like, I've made a video on this before, but you go back and look at, like, images, like these Sumerian images, like the Anunnaki on the walls with, like, and if you notice, like, you got this giant, like, bird lion dude who's, like, shape-shifting and shit, and he's got wings, and but they're all holding these weird little boxes, right? And in my video, I kind of made a weird correlation to these boxes and, like, cell phones. And basically, they would always carry around these things, and I think these things were just kind of like these supercomputers, these things that they use to basically control reality. And they basically have those now, and it's these cell phones. Like, these cell phones are so much more than you think. They do a lot more, at least the ones that they have, because just because it looks like a cell phone too, it doesn't mean that's exactly what it is. But they needed to get everybody to the point where it wasn't taboo to just have somebody walking down the street, holding, a thing in their hand, and kind of, now it's like nobody would even, give a second glance at it. So there's two factors in this. It's the cell phones with these aliens, these Anunnaki, these reptilians, whatever. The cell phones and the watches. They have watches. They have watches that. There we go. They have watches that can like change how they look, change their appearance. It like affects the hologram, and that's why these smart watches, these digital watches, were kind of disseminated into the public. It was no accident, man. No accident. You go back to, like, stories of the 1940s with the whole Roswell situation, and what do they say? Oh, they got technology from these beings, and all. No, it's like it was all done systematically. It was all done on purpose. The computers, the tech. I'm gonna be 100% like real with you. I'm gonna be 100% real with you right now. And I've said this before. In order for, like, things to kind of be okay, in order for, like, all this crap has to shut down. That's number one. All this crap has to shut down. The technology has to go. It's got to go. Because they have infiltrated it to a point where it's being used to subjugate us. It's being used to control us. It's being used to attack us. It's part of these invisible walls that we're just surrounded by. The technology has to go. The technology absolutely has to go. There's a movie that came out recently where it's got Idris Elba in it, and he plays a genie. He plays a jinn, which is so funny because if you follow Middle Eastern Islamic, history, lore, I'm not gonna say mythology because the shit's real. They believe the jinn were like basically like this other kind of the parallel to the angelics. That's what the jinn were, and they exist all around us. Anyway, and that's where the whole stories about genies and all that come from. But long story short, the point I'm trying to get to is in the movie, Idris Elba plays a jinn who's basically living with this woman, and she brings him back to, because he's originally like in uh not Morocco, Istanbul, I believe. She brings him from Istanbul to London, and he cannot survive because the moment he gets there, he's being hit. Like there's all this invisible noise around me, and it's affecting me. Like he was just like, and it started killing him. It started destroying him. It was eating away at his energetic body. All this crap, the Wi-Fi, the signals, it's everywhere, and it eats at you. It eats at you. If you are, you know, if you're of life, if you are of that life body, if you are of, yeah, it'll eat at you. These artificial sons of bitches, no, because they're part of that. They're part of that collective. It's not gonna mess with them. It's not gonna mess with them. You know, this thing is so freaking deep, people. It's so deep. This entire world has been designed to keep you in a box. You know, everything, like these things that we take for granted, these things that we just see as being it's just being commonplace. It's like, man, they're designing these things to hurt us, to take us out. These cell phones, these electronic devices, like they're putting out this stuff, and it's hitting us. That's what it's doing, and that's their job. You know, it's horrible. It's so bad. It's so horrible. It's like the whole thing with the cars and the headlights, and that channel that I mentioned earlier about the Truth or Die channel. They talk about the headlights, and especially like you getting hit with like those high beams. That's a reptilian thing. That's what they do. You know, but also those beams work as their energy weapons. They're energy weapons. That's what they use them for. That's why they will, anybody who's been attacked or targeted. That's why you're in situations where they have to come and park next to you, or they will park in a way adjacent so the light is hitting you directly, because it's an energy weapon. That's why they do it. You know. But the question I ask you is, if they're so powerful, why do they have to do so much in the dark? Why do they have to do so much? Why is there so much passive aggression? Like, that's the part that makes me laugh. It's like, the world is run by passive aggressive aliens. Like, the world is run by passive aggressive aliens. You know, um, because they can only do so much. And oh man, I've been on here for like an hour. This is probably the longest video I've ever made. Who knew? I do like this whole live thing. It's pretty cool. But yeah. Spirit OG, it's 1,000,000 to 1. 1,000,000 of them to every one of us. Yeah. Yeah. That number sounds about right. That number sounds about right. Um and you know, Gang Stalking Simulation, he said something in one of his more recent videos. He mentioned about um he's like, I know, yeah. He's like, I know. He said, I know that I'm not the only one out here. I'm not the only one in this simulation. I'm not the only one like me. And you're not. You're not. But see, here's the thing. Here's how this whole thing is set up. Just like, my man said, or woman, I don't know. I'm a spirit OG. I'm just running my mouth. But they said that 1,000,000 to every one, and it's just like, so the way they set it up is, for every one of you that's out there, you're surrounded on all sides. You're flanked on all sides. That's how they set it up. And every once in a while, the program will flip, and you might have an overlap where uh, you'll have more than one like us that manages to get that manages to get in the same area. But no, man, for everyone, and that should kind of give you an idea of how powerful you are, or the power that you hold, how badass you really, how you badass you guys really are. If they need all those, like I can tell you right away, like where I'm at right now, my neighborhood. I mean, I can just point them out. Fake, 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 fake. I can go down like, because also too, it's like if you know what to look for, like they always tell you, they're always gonna show you what they are. They're always gonna do that shit. Like it's like, oh, if you weren't sure, just watch for a little while. They'll do it. They'll do something, and it's like, yep, of course you are. You know what I'm saying? Because they can't help themselves. They have to do it. Um, but it's for everyone. There's so many of them. So many. It's kind of overwhelming, but again, it should kind of give you an idea of like, you know, you've kind of got like a Superman thing going on because they need all that just to keep you down. Um, yeah, and at this point, what can I say? I'm here to watch. I'm here to see things unfold. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'll say it again. I know for a fact that we're at the end of this thing. We're at the end of this thing. We're at the very end. And I can't tell you exactly how it's going to unfold, but I can tell you that they don't have much longer. They do not have much longer. Like they're on their way out. Their time is over. They're on their way out. And what's so hilarious is like just to watch these drones go about it, because like at the end of the day it's like you guys aren't gonna like when it goes down, and when the sky breaks open, and and shit really gets popping, it's like, do you really think that like the high ups are gonna like you know put out a call to all the gang stalkers and all the street weirdos and tell them like, all right guys, let's go, time to go into the bunkers? No, they're gonna let them die. They're gonna let them die in mass because they don't give a fuck. They're bees. They're drones. You know, they that's the only purpose they serve, is what they do. You know, and in between the times when I get like not frustrated, but just like, really guys, we're doing this again. I just kind of have to stop and say to myself like, this is their life. This is what they do. This is how they operate. This is all their life consists of. And at the end of the day, it's sad. And I'm not going to say pity them because I don't feel like they deserve our pity. But I just want you to understand that is a very sad way to live. If you can even call it a life. It's so sad. It's so sad. You know, I'm sitting outside one night and I'm watching as this guy just drives up and down my street, engine blaring, lights just on, um, just back and forth, back and forth. No, they are No, they are absolutely losers. Like it's just really sad. It's just like, you're doing all of this, and it's just like and you get to the end of the street, and then and then he did it like at least like 15 times. It's like, you're you're so sad. It's so pathetic. Yeah, it's so pathetic. You know, it's so pathetic, and it's just like, and I think that's how I'm feeling right now. It's just like, come on, like give me the actual, like, I'm ready to, like, punch the Illuminati or something, like, I'm tired of, like, these little peons and crap like that, because just, like, these, because once you get to the point where it's, like, it doesn't, because the whole point behind this is to sensitize you to your environment and to make it so you cannot function in this so-called reality. You can't play the game because it's a game. When you go outside and you go out, it's a game. You're playing a game because they're playing a game. You know, you put on your clothes and you go to work and you go wave at Susan and you get your coffee and you get your egg McMuffin and you. It's a game. It's a game. It's a game that they've all they're instinctively good at, but they want you to fail at that because then they can be justified in doing what they do and coming after you. Because make no mistake, what you need to understand, all of you, is that if you really are, I hate the word like chosen. I hate the word. If you really are a real one, you're protected. It's that simple. The real ones are protected, you know? And I lost my train. Manufactured trauma, PTSD, but I'm healing. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've all been traumatized. We've been um man, it goes deep, dude. I'm gonna tell you. And it's so funny. They try to continuously like find ways to mess with me, and they'll try to find like a way to sensitize me to one thing, and then I make an active point to break out of it because it's a wall, right? It's a wall. If someone sensitizes you to white cars, right? Okay. The whole point is you're supposed to be afraid of white cars. You can't go anywhere that you see a white car, right? So if you want to go get a sandwich and then suddenly like five white cars pull up in front of uh, Jersey Mike's, you're suddenly like, oh god, I can't do this, and you go home. You suddenly feel that like you suddenly get that anxiety. You know what I'm saying? Um, but what they don't count on is you breaking through that. They don't count on it. They don't. I don't think they really. And I think I. Okay, let me get my thoughts together. I believe that we're all evolving to a point where we're able to handle these things because I don't think I really feel like in the past these things worked very well. I don't think they work so well now because I think our bodies, our minds, our spirits are finding ways to work around these things. It's like a plant that you put up some jagged terrain and the plant finds a way to grow around it. The vines find a way to permeate all those different areas and kind of, that's what we're doing spiritually, physically, all these different ways. But um yeah, for me it was like at first it was like the white car thing, and then they would try the red cars. And some days they'll still do that, right? They'll do the white cars, and then I'm like, what? I don't give a shit. And then suddenly, like, oh, the cars will shift to red, and I still don't give a shit. They hope that sudden shift will suddenly like throw you off. I don't give a shit. I don't care. You know. But they've tried. They recently tried this thing where the peace sign, which based on what I know now, I feel like the peace sign is like kind of evil. Not even evil. I feel like it's Masonic. I feel like it represents it's their whole like duality thing. That's why you see it everywhere. But like they tried to sensitize me, strangely enough, to the peace sign. And I kid you not, these freaking gang stalkers that would walk around and they would just do peace. They would do the peace sign. And I'm not gonna lie, like for a little while it did affect me. It did kind of like because I was like, and you get that kind of jolt in your chest. You know what I'm talking about, like that anxiety where it just kind of hits you. And then you just kind of you push yourself into it, and it gets better, and things do get better. Um, if you're, yep, there you go, Uncle Obvious. It's witchcraft. Yeah. Um, it's witchcraft. Yeah, they were doing that for like a while, like like to the point where like the other day, man, and I literally like I think they send frequencies to try to cause my anxiety too, all that, and there's Yeah, no, yeah, all that and they're exactly all that and they're still failing. That should tell you something. That should tell you something. Um, but no, like the other day, because I get stalked by Masons too, and uh, and the thing that they love to do is they love to like drive around with they have to like stalk me and they make sure they have their stickers or their license plates or whatever. And the other day, I was out walking, and this Mason is like just kind of like blares up in front of me, and he's got his Masonic license plate. Um, Interesting, star power, yeah. Um, the license plates and he's got his Masonic license plate, and he pulls up in front of me, and he does the peace sign. He's like hanging out. This freaking Mason is just hanging out his window doing the peace sign. I just laugh at him. You're so sad. You're so sad. And so that's me most days. Um, no, I believe you. Dude, I believe most of like I believe it. Like that's what they all. I mean, it's like, yeah. Um, but yeah, most of the days I spend most days just like laughing my ass off at what they do or what they're willing to do just to get a reaction. Um, mm, Bullhorns, yeah. Uh, but yeah, man, it's crazy. Oh, who we got here? And I love the thing they do where they pull up because again it's to instill some type of like fear in you, and they'll pull up slow and they'll turn on the lights in the car and just like give you that glare, and I just wave at them. I just wave and laugh and wave and laugh, and they get that's what I'm saying. Like they know what they're doing. Triangle signs with both hands is another. Yeah, yeah, I believe all that. Um, they they get frustrated and they drive off, and then they pass it on to the next person. Again, person is too it's too much of a that's being polite. That's being polite. You're dealing with lizards and grays and all kinds of nasty things out there, man. Like it's so bad. It's so bad. And robots and uh, clones. That's the thing. Clones. Um, it's like it's so funny because like people don't listen, and I say this all the time about like how there's so much truth told into you in the and people. I don't know what people are expecting, but like we're getting truths. You just have to pay attention. And that interview that Kanye West did, like he dropped some truth, and you gotta listen to how he phrased things, because he dropped truths. Like he talked about, he kept calling people handlers. He talked about his wife's handlers. He talked about the people in his life. He called them handlers. He talked about he's like some of these people. Some of these people that work around me, that worked around my wife. He's like, I don't know where they came from. They just seem to come out of nowhere. He's like, it's like somebody made them in a laboratory. Like, yeah, man. Dude, I'm glad you watched, dude. Um, I'm like I said, I'm a fan of your work. I'm a fan of your videos. I think you're quote unquote, they say you're doing the Lord's work. Um, yeah, man, you're great, and like I said, I look forward to the stuff you release because you're telling truths. But yeah, but Kanye was talking about like and then he says like he mentioned, and again he phrased himself very carefully, but he talked about like he mentions it one time. He's like, "Am I in the Truman Show?" Yeah. It's a new interview. Kanye did this interview with Tucker Carlson. Um, it's probably in the last few days, and I don't agree with a lot of what he says. Um, I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but um, he was telling truths in that video. He even he even said one time, he's like The way he phrased it, he was like, he called his wife a hybrid. He called Kim Kardashian a hybrid, and the way he again, it's all wordplay, people. It's all how you phrase things. He's like, my wife is a mixture of a lot of things. She's a hybrid, and I'm like, yep, yeah, no. But he talks about that. He talks about he's calling out people as handlers. He's calling out people as like I said, he said these people he's like these people don't exist. They don't exist. He's like they just show up one day and they have all these accolades. He's like it's like somebody made them in a laboratory. He's telling truths. Like he's telling the truth. Like he's not lying. You know. Um. So. That interview was was funny, to say the least. It was funny, but um. I say all that to say, you know, you guys keep your heads up. Stay in a positive mindset. Try to be creative, you know, because that's one thing that these robots can't do is be creative. They can't make anything for shit, you know. They hate creative energy. They hate you being creative, and just try to live your lives, man. Live your lives, and what happens will happen. You'll be protected. You'll be guided where you need to go. You'll be, you know, you got forces working in your favor. They are mimickers, yeah. They're mimic. That's all they do is mimicry. That's all they know. Um, but you'll be taken care of. Just don't let them. You know, look at this as like a look at this like think of this like you're a scientist. Like you're a scientist and you are on some alien world observing these beings and what they do. You know, like don't let it get to you, man. Don't let it get to you. Just live your life. Um, do your thing and yeah. All right. I will talk to you guys when I talk to you. I hope this has been somewhat informative. I'm gonna do more lives in the future now that I kind of know what this whole setup is and how to do it. So, anyway, take it easy, folks.